I want to first of all say that, like all Labour members, I'm going to vote for this bill. This bill is overall a very good bill. There's been discussions around the timing, and it is wrong that it took a couple of years after the Law Commission report for the bill to come to the House, and it is particularly wrong that the government did not prioritise it such that it could have its first reading and reference to a select committee in time to have a proper select committee process with those people who want to be heard. I'm informed that my colleague Paul Hutchison, who chaired the committee and went to a very good school, wasn't quite well enough educated at that school to ask the right questions, and as a result of that got a bum steer, and hearings which should have been heard didn't occur. And I think that's sad, because I think if they had been, we could have been in a position to take a different decision. I also regret the fact that as we're another preliminary comment, Mr. Speaker. I've bred dogs. I've been a dog in my household for the vast majority of my adult life. Kids hadn't got dogs, and I care a lot about them. And to me, they are important. Countering that. It's no secret to most members of the House that a close family member of mine is a research scientist, and is doing the sort of research science that involves animal experimentation, and that is something which the area that is being worked on has the potential to make an enormous difference as far as human lives are concerned. So I am not a person who is adamantly against animal testing where there are circumstances where through the proper ethical processes it can be established that there are no alternatives and it is for a good cause. And in my view, the improvement of human life, or even actually the improvement of animals' lives, I think can be good reasons for that. But, Mr. Speaker, what we're looking at now is a bill with a clause without the Mojo Mathers amendment, which has an out, which allows animal testing for one reason, and that is to make it easier for drug dealers to make bigger profits. Just make it absolutely clear. What this approach does means that it is easier and cheaper to get approvals to have these psychoactive drugs approved. That's what it's for, that's what it's designed to do, and Mr. Speaker, Mr. Chairman, I think that is something which is wrong. Frankly, if they can't do the bench-based science, which I accept can be more expensive than killing puppies. I accept the view that it is cheaper and easier on occasions to use animals, and that will be the case, Mr. Chairman, in a number of countries that have ethical standards that differ from ours. That will occur. But, Mr. Chairman, why should we accept that? Why should we lower ourselves to the standards of China and India and their approach to animal life as we pass this legislation? Especially, Mr. Chairman, where it is to approve a drug which most of us, when we're asked about it pretty carefully, think even with all that sort of approval it'd probably be better if it wasn't approved anyway, because it is another psychoactive drug, mind-bending drug, and Mr. Chairman, the idea that Mr. Chairman, the idea that animals are killed for that is just wrong. I want to say that while I agree with the vast majority of what the Honourable John Banks says and admire his emotion, I think, Mr. Chairman, those of us who have been around this House for the time that John and Banks and I have seen him emotional about this sort of issue only on one issue before, and he was emotional about an issue which we were on opposite sides, and I deplored his emotive approach at the time. But, sir, what Mr. Banks has shown is that within the party, at least on this issue, there is something which is caring. And the last point that it's the second to last point that I want to make, Mr. Chairman, and I could come back again with a few others. The point that I want to make is one which was often made by a prominent National Party Cabinet Minister, Ruth Richardson. And she would ask the question, what is the mischief? What is the mischief? And I want to ask National Party members, what is the mischief in the Green Party amendment? What is wrong with it? Who's going to be hurt by it? It might be, I agree, it might be that slightly fewer drugs are approved to bend young people's minds. Well, what's the mischief in that? It might be that the drug dealers have to pay more to get approvals. What's the mischief in that? I'm yet to hear anyone on the other side tell me what the problem is, other than a bunch of self-interested professional experimenters and one other person who apparently used to be involved in the SPCA, but other than a group of those people who think what they are doing, their approach is right. And Mr. Chairman, I just can't agree with it. And I'm going to tell you, Mr. Chairman, what I suspect. And what I suspect in this particular case is that the minister, and I'm told he was a good chair of a select committee, he's not making a great start as far as his legislation is concerned, is that he has been detailed to look after a fragile vote for confidence in supply, and that's Peter Dunn. It is my understanding that Peter, and it's not, and who was surprised, all of us have some, well, not all of us, quite a few of us have some sympathy for Peter Dunn, while much of his problems are of his own making. I think we all make mistakes, and he's clearly made a set of them now, which has resulted in him losing his ministerial arrangements. But sir, at the moment, he is clearly someone who has to be managed for the next year and a bit until the next election, when I think we all know that he will not be a member of Parliament. He has to be managed with kid gloves. And my view on the reason for the National Party taking what is such an illogical position on this, because there has been no logic expounded by any National Party member, is that they are doing it in order to handle Peter Dunn, in order to ensure that they continue to have a majority for supply in the likely event that the Maori Party splinters going forward.
I call Brendan Horan.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Speaking to part one,